So imagine you're standing in a village thousands of years ago. You've spent months raising your livestock and you finally have something valuable, a healthy goat. You walk over to your neighbour and you say, I'll trade you this goat for your shoes. They look at the goat. They look at you. They look back at the goat again. They consider for a minute. Then finally they say, but I don't need a goat. I've already got one. And just like that, for you, the entire economy stops. The one thing you thought you had that you could trade, nobody wants. And so today's history of money is all about why the barter system failed. And it's not because people were foolish. It's because society grew too large, too complex, too connected. But what we really want to talk about is how the failure of the barter system led to one of the most important inventions in human history: money. So welcome to episode 2 of the history of money, from barter to Bitcoin. And today we're looking at why the barter system failed and what replaced it. So in early human societies, there was no such thing as money. No prices, no wages, no savings accounts. And all exchanges were very personal. If you were a hunter, then you traded and exchanged meat. If you farmed, then you shared your grain. If you were a builder, then you traded labor. And the barter system worked because communities were small. Trade wasn't about profit, it was about survival. If you help someone out today, then chances are tomorrow they were going to help you out. Or someone else would. But as populations grew and people became more specialist, these informal systems became strained. Not everyone could produce what someone else needed all the time. And that's where the problems began. Modern economists use a technical term for the barter system's biggest flaw. They call it the double coincidence of wants. And it sounds complicated, but it's not. It's really simple. For the barter system to work, I must want what you have. You must want what I have. We both need to want at the same time, and we both need to want in approximately equal value. Miss any one of those conditions and the whole trade falls through. You grow wheat, but you need your roof repaired. But the builder doesn't need wheat. He needs meat. So now you need to find a butcher who needs wheat and whose meat the builder will accept. And as such, trade becomes a chain of favours, not a direct exchange. And as these trade networks expand, they become unworkable. But that also wasn't the only issue. The barter system also struggled with some very practical realities. How do you split a cow fairly? And half a cow isn't particularly useful. It's certainly not going to stay fresh. And wealth in a barter society was heavy, bulky, and difficult to move. Imagine trying to carry your life savings on your back. And then imagine trying to store all these valuable items you've collected. Food spoils, it goes off. Animals die, and tools break. The barter system makes it almost impossible to save for the future. So as society became more complex, people needed to be able to store wealth, measure it, and transfer it. And the barter system could do none of these things. So humans did what they always do. They found a workaround. And long before coins and banks were around, people began to use what we call commodity money. These are objects that had value not because of some law, but because people agreed they were valuable. And these objects need to be widely accepted, durable, hard to counterfeit, and easy to recognise. So different cultures adopted different commodities. For some it was shells along coastlines. On trade routes it could be salt. In agricultural societies, cattle. In other societies it could have been beads, furs, tea bricks, or even metal tools. And salt was so valuable at one point that Roman soldiers were even paid with it. Where do you think the word salary comes from? And this was the turning point. You no longer needed to produce what I wanted. You just needed to accept something that others would accept too. Money wasn't about wealth, it was about coordination. But commodity money had a weakness. Too many shells destroyed value. Salt could be dissolved, and cattle had a tendency to wander off and die. So trade evolved again, and it was metals that changed everything. Gold and silver were scarce, durable, divisible, and portable. And at first metal was traded by weight. And a lump of silver wasn't a coin, it was just simply a valuable material. But having to weigh metals for every transaction was slow and laborious. So the authorities stepped in. Rulers began stamping metals into standardized sizes, coins. And a coin had a value. It was a value that was guaranteed. And that guarantee allowed trade to scale across cities, across borders, and ultimately across generations. Money became abstract, value became symbolic, and whoever controlled the money controlled the power. So the key takeaway from all this is that money wasn't created to make people rich. It was invented because the barter system just stopped working. And every evolution we've seen in money has happened because the old system could no longer scale. We saw it when coins became notes, and then banks turned them into cards, and now we pay using our phones. Barter failed because the world got bigger, and money exists purely because we need a shared language of value on which to base trade. In episode 3, we're going to talk about who first controlled money, and how temples, kings and states turned money into power. Because if you want to understand where money's going, you need to understand where it came from and why it keeps changing. Thank you for joining us on the history of money, where we're going all the way from barter to Bitcoin. Bye-bye.